Welcome back to another episode of GenerationShock.
Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
That's right. We're back on your screens, if you know what I means. And we got a very different show in store for everybody tonight. Tonight, we are going to just ask some questions. Some things that have been plaguing us.
Questions.
Plaguing our minds. And, what's up, Chris? How you doing, buddy? Always good to see you. He's dedicated to us.
I can see
Gives
that.
us a like every week.
Hey, listen,
watches
I
the
appreciate
show.
that.
Good man. He's a good man. We need more people in the world like Chris. But anyway, we're going to ask some questions, just things that have been plaguing my mind and plaguing Meta's mind, and, and see, what you people think. And we want to hear your input. We want to hear your feedback.
What do you mean, you people?
You people, like the people who aren't on the show.
No. You know the movie Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, I do know.
He's like, what do you mean, you people?
Yeah. Anyway, I have with me my co-host today, Mr. Meta. How you doing today, Meta?
Meta's doing well. I should have put that on the bottom, Meta.
As always, I'm the host with the most. I'm the monster on the mic. I'm Sheck Monster. Thank you all for tuning in.
No sponsorship. It's just free
quick,
shit. It's just free shit.
Yeah. He's trying to get sponsored. It's okay. He wants to, he wants to join the meta world. Speaking of meta worlds, that because you brought it up and everything, dude, these shows lately, it's so funny. Like I've realized that in order, yeah, pretty much Meta World Peace Jr. over here. I've realized in order to be successful, you don't have to come up with an idea. You just have to be able to take somebody else's idea and make it your own. Mm-hmm. And so I was going through today because I've been feeling under the weather the last 2 days. Had a really rough night Monday night and didn't want to move on Tuesday, and then felt a little bit better. So that's why I'll go ahead and do the show. But I was going through Amazon. I was trying to find some stuff to watch, and I watch a lot of stuff, so it's hard for me to find new things. And all of a sudden I came across no one wants to sponsor that little thing. But I was coming across the show. It's called Electronic Dreams, right, on Amazon Prime.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I started to watch it, and when I realized basically what they did is they just did their own version of Black Mirror. You ever seen Black Mirror on Netflix?
No, but I've heard of it.
Oh my goodness, you are so lame. So Black Mirror is the show that's a different episode every episode, and it's different people, and it's about different stories, and a lot of it has to do with how technology possibly could go bad or different things could happen. And so as I'm watching this show now, it's basically the same thing. It's called Electronic Dreams.
So it's like Black Mirror?
Yeah, it's a different episode every week, but they have good actors and actresses, which is why I tuned in, because I was like, oh, I recognize those people. And every episode is just something different every time. And so it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
What is this? Oblivion?
Wait. Have I seen that?
I don't know. I have to look into that. I can't.
Is that on Apple TV Plus? I believe so. I think
it might be.
No, I think so, because I'm watching that. I haven't finished it. I'm watching that.
But anyway, I just think it's funny how, people take things and they just do their own spin to it, and then they, make money off it. And I feel like that's what we should do in our world. I guess that's kind of what we're doing. Well, it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix? Okay. No, is it on Netflix? Yeah.
The Tom Cruise movie, Oblivion. I know what you're talking about now.
I don't think I've seen that one. Anyways, so remember, Bill Gates did it, right, with Windows. He bought Windows, right? Or stole the idea, one of those two. Facebook, Meta, right? Meta was somebody else's idea. And he just took it and made it his. Yeah, that's what they do. That's exactly what it is, right? And then you have like Marvel movies and DC movies, and then you have whatever's on Prime. What the fuck is that called again? The Boys. That
was a comic book, though.
Is it a real comic book?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then the comic book era somebody bit, right? Because
maybe I'm wrong.
What came first, Marvel or DC?
I have no idea. I mean, neither one was. They were called different things. It was Action Comics originally before it became DC, and then it changed. But everybody tries to copy everybody. But yeah,
of course.
I digress. So Anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So, possession is 9/10 of the law. Yeah.
Who said that? Biden?
Yeah, of course.
I
Biden.
figured it would be Biden.
Of course, it's Biden. Who else is going to say that shit? Anyway, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to
correction. Also, I would like to make a correction. I believe last time or last week I said election is November 6th, and then I realized after I said it, I never fixed it. It's actually November 8th. It's actually election, and last week I think I said it was November 6th. So
okay, nobody cares, but thanks anyway.
I know. I just decided to say that.
So this episode, we're just going to ponder some different questions in the world and different things that that we want to talk about and maybe elaborate on. I'm going to start it off with a curveball, and I know you're not prepared for this, but maybe I shouldn't talk about it then. It's kind of a conspiracy theory
bring it
in
up.
a way. Well, we'll save it actually because I got to get you involved.
Okay.
You're not going to be ready to be involved in it.
All right,
okay.
Cool. All right,
so
cool. I'm cool with that.
Let me go to my list of questions that I posed to you. I think I have it.
I think we should start off with the space one.
Which space one? Go ahead.
The why we remember we were having this discussion of why if technology has advanced, how come we haven't been to the moon again?
Well, no, that wasn't the question, right? So you take what I want to do and then you like completely fuck it up.
So bring up the fucking question.
So my question was this, and this is what I was trying to understand, right? Over the last 100 years, technology has changed leaps and bounds, right? Everything that you think about has it's always constantly advancing in the way we do things. We went from those crank up cars that you used to literally had a manpower to crank it up to all the vehicles that we drive around today. You went from the Wright brothers planes to these supersonic, just
space
mind-blowing airplanes and stuff like that. Cell phones, all this different, everything that's changed in the world. Technology completely advances. I mean, the size of what a computer used to be to the fact that it's basically in your pocket now and everything like that. I mean, it's amazing how far advancements have come in technology. But my question I was posing, which I don't seem to comprehend, and Messiah seems to disagree with me, but he always does, so that's what makes it fun, is why is space travel the one area that we don't seem to have made any advancements, right? If you really think about from the 60s till now, we're basically using the same exact propulsion that we did then as we are now. Now, granted, the cockpits and the vessel that you travel into has slightly changed, right? We went from, it being one structure on the Apollo crafts to the Discovery and Challenger, and that kind of stuff. But in all reality, we're using the same technology to travel to space today as we did in the 60s. And so what I don't understand is how come that's never advanced, right? Why have we never been able to make technological advancements in the way that we travel into space?
But it has advanced, right? Because I give you an example. We've gotten to the point where now Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk has taken people, right, on a flight towards not out of space, but at least where it's considered outer space, right? Haven't been to the moon, but they have been to the outer shell, right? Where they can not to orbit, but at least enough to say, "Hey, I've been in outer space."
Okay,
so
which has been around since the 60s.
No, because remember, it had to be certified people. 1, 2, the vessel would go
but you say certified people?
Astronauts.
Okay, but who decided it had to be an astronaut?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know who decided that.
The people who manned the vehicle. Oh, I'm frozen again.
Yes.
Man, every week I got to figure out what's going on because I'm freezing every week now, which sucks really bad. It just, I don't know why I constantly freeze, but I'll have to start looking into that. But the bottom line is, it's not, once again, you're talking about because it's being commercialized that people now get to partake in it. That's not changing technology, right?
So, yes, it is.
How?
Right? Because it used to use, first of all, here's one of the changes. It used to take a rocket to a shuttle, a piece of a shuttle on top of it to launch it. Now it has changed where now it's more like a space shuttle with boosters, right, to launch it.
But you're not listening to what the question is.
Changing though. I'm just trying to explain to you what's changing. Not only just getting there is changing, the technology has advanced. It also, the suits, things that we send out there has changed. So technology has changed. But which part just to understand it clearly, which part do you think there hasn't been an advance? Getting
The way we travel to space, there's been zero advancement. We have the same propulsion systems from the 60s to today.
Do you know
What's
how much
changed?
it costs just to send somebody out of space? Or
That's my point.
Mission?
That's my point. We've made everything that's on Earth has been made cheaper, smaller, and more efficient. Right? We found ways to improve upon everything. Look at the way. Just take any kind of travel outside of space, and you're going to tell me that from the 60s to today,
it could also,
you don't see the difference in what we were able to do with it.
It
but
could
space
also
travel is still the same.
Okay, so it could also be that there hasn't been enough funding also for space anymore. Just like
But why?
I don't, because it can get political, right? It's not only just that, but it's a lot of political bullshit that gets in the way for the cost and all that. So I give you an example. In 2019, the funding for space was 21 point something billion dollars, and then Agent Orange was trying to get it to 22 billion, which was was trying to get it up there, right? And obviously that didn't pass. But I give you ballpark how much that same year, ballpark, how much you think was spent in military?
I don't know.
600, almost 700 billion.
Okay, but
so there's the difference. Again, there's not enough funding. There's not enough care for it anymore. Like back in the days, how it used to be. I think that's what it is. The technology hasn't advanced because there hasn't been enough funding. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it's gotten to the point that billionaires themselves had to do it themselves, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. They're the ones putting in the money now. It's the government's not putting in the money anymore. So of course there's not going to be an advance on it. There's advance in weapons, there's advance in everything else, there's advance in cell phones, like you said, but there's not enough advance in probably in going to outer space because now it's turned into a political thing. And there's no fundings for it.
I guess I don't agree, because what funding was there for vehicles, for cars?
But that's all private stuff. Companies, now public companies, and that's why I'm telling you that now. So
you think Jeff now Bezos, we'll see advancements? Yeah.
So Jeff Bezos, there's advances happening because they're putting money into it, and they actually. I think NASA. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong on this, and I'm wrong most of the times. NASA now they're more private. They're no longer now it's mostly privately owned. It's no longer a federal thing anymore.
No, NASA's still federal. So NASA's not. That's
but there's a lot of money being put in it from companies like Tesla, like SpaceX, right? Not Tesla, SpaceX, and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origins, which I think is in Vegas. Blue Origins.
Yeah, but they're not associated with NASA. That's the whole point. They're
not. But they're not. But they're not. NASA's not getting the funding.
Yeah, but there was still funding there for Lockheed Martin and these companies to develop and to create more efficient ways to travel in order to be the sole proprietor of NASA, and they still didn't create anything to make it more efficient.
Yes, like Lockheed Martin and I think Boeing was the two companies that were investing into outer space stuff, but now when they're throwing in 21 billion and 600 or almost 700 billion in military, come on. Which way that's when you know where the investment has gone. That's when you go where all the money is going. That's where
so I wasn't going to bring this point up, but now you're going to bring me up to my conspiracy theory that I have.
But here's my thing though. On top of that, getting to the moon, since getting to the moon itself, it's there's a lot of mysteries and there's a lot of known, right? There's mysteries and there's known of living or spending time up there. It's a harsh terrain, right? It's a harsh terrain. It has a lot of craters.
The terrain is because there's only been like 8 people ever to be on it.
Yes,
so
there's been maps. There's been maps.
I get it, but why has the Chinese then? You're telling me they don't have the money to invest to take people to space and go to the moon?
They probably do. This I'm telling you, there's
So this
money.
is where-
There's
this is
money.
where it
There's
ties
money
into.
to be.
So-
That's what I'm saying. There's money. There's money. If they get the funding, they will. I mean, based on the article I read, they can go up. They can go right now. They just need the funding.
They
That's
have
it.
the money. The money's there.
It's
It's not about funding.
120.
That's
They
just
said
an
they
excuse.
say it's going to cost 120 billion to go out there.
Dude, first of all, the money's there. Okay, so let's take the money out of it. There's definitely money there.
Is there a space station in the moon?
No. I don't think so. But
No,
that's
because-
another conspiracy thing. But here, this ties into what I was going to talk about then. That I was going to save for later, but I want to go back into it, right?
Okay, good.
And it has to do with the original Tesla.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't know how much you know about Tesla and Thomas Jefferson and their battle for electricity.
I've read something. Well, I've seen a whole documentary on men that built America, and I think that was a part of it.
Yeah, so they had a war for alternating and direct currents,
Yes.
right, of electricity.
AC/DC.
Yep.
Yep.
And Tesla had ability to. He already had the capabilities of devising technology that could send electricity wirelessly throughout the world.
Interesting.
Okay. And I don't know if you know, and this is how messed up our world is, because what happens is the world is ran by a certain amount of people, and those are the people in power and people with money. And what they do is they don't care about the betterment of humankind. All they care about is the betterment of their pocket. And so what happened is Thomas Jefferson was backed by J.P. Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recognize that name.
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's he famous for?
Lawyer.
No, see, you don't.
J.P. Morgan is it?
Is
Oh,
a
it's a
bank.
bank.
Yes.
It's a bank.
He's a
yes,
bank.
Yes, yeah. Bank,
They make
bank.
investments. and
Yes,
such,
yes,
right?
Yes. Now, it's coming.
fact-
It's coming. It's coming.
In fact, Rockefeller had a war with J.P. Morgan because Rockefeller was into oil and kerosene, and he was the one who was fueling the America through kerosene, and he tried to do everything he could to prevent electricity from being accepted by.
Yeah.
Did I say Jefferson? Maybe I meant Edison. I'm sorry if I said Jefferson.
Yeah, it is Thomas Edison. I think they created a company GE.
I don't know why I
right?
said Jefferson then. But Rockefeller did everything he could to subdue electricity from being a form of power in order to ensure his profitability with kerosene and oil and everything. Mm-hmm. And then what happened was Tesla and Edison got into an electrical war, and because of the funding that Edison had, I keep on saying Jefferson. I want to say Thomas Jefferson. I don't know why, but the funding that Edison had, he was able to overcome and overtake to be the prominent electricity one because it became more profitable for those in power. And so what happened was there were supposed to be like 80 chunks of documents of inventions and different things that Tesla invented that could and different things that happened. And like 20 of the trunks went completely missing or completely gone, right? And the thing is, the government like suppressed this information in order to prevent not because it wasn't about what's best for the people. It's about what was going to be profitable for the people in charge. And so it makes me wonder sometimes, where could we be as a society in a country if it was about what's best for the people and not best for the people in power and the people for money? It's your time to speak. Go ahead.
I was reading what Joe Biden wrote. Yeah. Yes, and I think and I believe that's when AC/DC, because I know during that time also, during the electric time of this country, the history, they were saying that alternative current was direct current, or one of those two was a danger for humans, and then they proved it. One of them proved it wrong to the other, and then they fixed it and all that. And this is how we have.
Because they that was the propaganda that was used in order to try to bring down the other one, right? And so what happened was like, well, wait a minute. If we make this a wireless electrical connection, it becomes easier and cheaper to get out to the masses.
Yeah.
And that wasn't what was wanted. Think about the infrastructures that were created by people and the money that was made by people in order to bring electricity to the masses. Think about that. Right?
Yeah. And that was a crazy. Could you imagine living in that era where electricity was was new, right, to people? Because before it, like you said, Rockefeller used to use fuel and all that to light up the streets and all that.
Yeah, it's just so this is why this is the kind of stuff
do you
that
think do you think that us not going to outer space is a conspiracy?
I don't think it's conspiracy. I think what it is there's no profit right now for the people who are in charge of it. So they don't see a profit margin in it, so they don't focus on it. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that there are probably people have possibly come up with a more efficient way for us to travel to space. But the people who profit from it, right? The Boeings, the Lockheed Martins, and the people in government,
L3 Harris, all
right?
those people,
right?
Yeah.
All of this stuff, they don't want that because they're making money off of the way that we run. There's been proven that electric vehicles, we've talked about it, have been around since forever. But they never wanted to allow it because the people in power, the Ford and the Chevys and the people who fuel it with the gas and the oil and everything else, that takes away from the profit margins, right?
But then you have people like Elon Musk that don't give a fuck and then just say, hey, I'm going to change things.
Well,
right?
That's because they've got to the point where they are now have the money to be in charge.
Yeah.
So they're able to do what they want because they have the power. But the people who have the power will circumvent what's best for society for what's best for their own interests.
Well, remember, it takes movements, right? Because remember, electric cars, when Teslas came out, when Elon Musk came out with electric cars, Teslas, a lot of companies were like, oh, this is just a fluke. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And all to a point where he sold so much, and he went from a small company to Tesla being a small company to now being outgrowing GM and Ford, right? To now that everywhere you go, every maker now is making electric cars, right? To the point where I believe Europe say by a certain amount of year, a certain time they're only going to be electric cars. This is where we're at and where we're heading. So now, that's the pace. So now, like I said earlier, so you have now Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk fighting to see who's gonna travel more to space or who's gonna get there, right? Because Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. That's his thing, right? That he wants to build a colony out there. But we have to first build a colony or somewhere in the moon, something first, before we start figuring out how to get on that side, right? Like a space station. The article I was reading was so interesting, right? They were saying that we got to figure out first how to survive in the moon, build it as a middle station, right? Like a regassing station to travel to at least to another like planet. And that's where their head is at, right? And they were talking about how harsh it is on the moon, right? The land itself, right? It's a lot of dust, a lot of craters, and which is harmful to the dust, the material, the on it, the land. It breaks up suits. So 14 days of daytime of light is a lot of heat, right? So a lot of heat on the moon. So that's one thing. And then nighttime, as soon as it gets dark, when the 14 days of the moon is dark, it's really, really, really cold. So surviving at least those environments in the moon first. So it's so interesting. Like all that research is being done, but it's not being talked about because they did a polling. And they were saying that most kids now, all they want to do is become an influencer. They want to do influencing, right? Or they want to do gaming, become famous in gaming and all that. When back in the days in '69 and the '70s, the average people that worked for NASA worked for NASA was from the age of 18 to like 29, 26. So that doesn't exist anymore. So they're giving props to people like billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos that they're actually hyping and they're creating this hype, and maybe they're gonna advance it faster through them versus the government.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's all strange. And I thought it was funny how it was really just, I feel like space travel was one of those things as well, that it's about the people in charge. It's not about the technology. And they subvert the technology that could have been created in order to keep certain people's pockets lined. If you ask me, I'm not saying it was the government specifically, but it's banks, it's companies, it's the people at the high ups who don't want to see these things pan out because it hurts their bottom line.
Well, yeah. Think about how technology advances and how it hurts another company if it doesn't adapt. Example: house phones and payphones. Payphones before was a thing, and I think it was 9X was the company that used to have Bell Atlantic, right? There used to be companies that used to survive off of these. Ever since cell phones came out and the phone started evolving, it changed that. There's no longer payphones, right? I think they just retired the last payphone in New York. What, last year?
Yeah.
I think we talked about it. So that's, as technology advances, as somebody comes in, steps up, tries to innovate and makes things better, there's going to be another company that's going to suffer. And then most people, like people that you talk about, like the JP Morgans or people that have shit tons of money, if they could, they will try to put some stop into it. But unless it's already moving, and it can't stop, they're going to stop it.
All right. So next question for you.
Yeah.
All right. I watch all these different shows, so I have all these different questions in my mind. Another thing that baffles my mind is ancient architecture, right? Like pyramids, statues, whatever it is, right? What is that thing called in Europe?
Headstones.
Yeah, the stones. That place. Forgot what it's called. Whatever, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know what it is. I just can't think about it right now.
So how is it that people will admit, like engineers admit to this day, that even using all the advanced technologies that we have on Earth currently, they find it almost near impossible to recreate the architecture and the structures that these people have created?
See, I don't believe
thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago.
I don't believe that shit. I think the articles can be confusing.
Stonehenge. Thank you, Biden.
Stonehenge. Yeah. Didn't I say that?
I don't know.
I probably did it. Anyway, so I think what it is, I think some articles will confuse you, right? Because I doubt that the engineers now can't solve how to do something like that. They just probably can't understand how they did it back then, not having the technology and the tools that we have now. Right, that's probably what can't. They're not saying it can't be done today, right?
No, once again, I'm not saying they said the degree of difficulty for them to do it today with our technology is very, very high. They're not saying they couldn't recreate it, but you're talking about advanced machinery that these people. You're talking about people who had sticks and stones as their technology. And we're talking about people with full out lasers and saws and they're saying to you, and they're admitting that, hey, this shit would be very difficult for us to replicate. Not saying we couldn't do it, but it'd be extremely difficult to replicate in 2022. But we're talking about 5,000 BC, right? So that's 7,000 years ago. These people made these structures. But yet today, they would still have a hard time creating them. How is that? Like, doesn't that make you wonder?
Yeah, but I don't believe that shit.
What do you mean? What don't you believe about it? That the people are lying that we could create it really easy? Like, what do you mean you don't believe it?
Yeah, that it can be done a lot easier. Come on, bro. We built skyscrapers. Okay. Right? We built ships. We built space shuttles. We've been to the moon. You're trying to tell me we can't?
Well, we don't know if we've been to the moon. We don't know if we've been to the moon.
Believe whatever conspiracy you want to believe, but I believe we've been to the moon. Okay. So, and you think that we can't recreate? We can't. That's okay. It's not that we can't recreate it, but you're saying it's not easier to do it. Of course it is. It has to be easier to do it. It's just probably nobody wants to put in the money or wants to care to do it, but it could be done, right?
Yes, because you see the labor.
Chiseling stones is a lot. like harder than what a laser could do now, or a saw with a diamond saw with water to cut rock. It could be a lot. It could be done.
I'm not saying so. First of all, we're talking about precise angles, smooth surfaces, right?
Yeah.
90-degree angles. And once again, yeah, a chisel can do it. But then let's talk about the 3,000 miles they had to travel to go from the quarry to the location that they put those stones.
Okay, that's what it's called, having trees and bulls, things to roll it, bro. If it's there, they did it. It's not, it can't be done. If it's there, they did it. So
well, obviously it can be done because they did it. I'm not saying they didn't do it.
But it'll be easier to do now. If it was to build a pyramid, it'll be easier to do a pyramid now than what they did back then.
Yeah, but think about the technology we have to use in order to make that happen.
Of course, but it's there and it can be done.
Okay, but that's my point though, is the technology we have now, we could still do it, but it's going to be we have to use every technological advancement we have on Earth to make it happen versus these people who had nothing.
I give you an example. I think Saudi Arabia is doing this. Did you know that they already started construction on building an actual city parallel, right? Running parallel like this. Running like this, a whole stretch. I don't know how many miles. They already started construction on that. Instead of having a city flat, right? This is a whole city. They're gonna build it this way, and the city's in between, like a fictional movie, right? Like a Star Wars movie where the cities it's in between this, and you have layers of cities, right? In between that. They already started that shit. So you're trying to tell me that that's already being started to be created. It's already being started to be built, and we're talking about stretch of miles of walls with cities built into it, right? And we can't do the pyramids.
I have no idea what one thing has to do with the other. I have no idea. I'm
just saying that this is where the technology is at, and the engineering has gone. So
okay, well, no one said that it didn't advance. What are you talking about?
Because you're saying to get the scientists are saying, or engineers are saying that what they did back then can't be. It'll be harder to do now.
Oh no, it said it was harder. They said the level of difficulty to recreate them is extreme. So if it's extremely hard for us to recreate what they did today, they can't fathom how they were able to do it then. You're not listening.
I might not be understanding the question though. The statement, because to recreate it how?
With technology. Okay,
so to cut Stonehenge in a right angle, standing up like a big stone in a rectangle, erected straight up.
Well, we're talking about that one little thing. I'm talking about.
But I'm just saying hypothetical. No, hypothetical. Yeah, okay. So you're saying or the pyramids. You think if
the pyramids, for instance.
Okay,
to rebuild the pyramids. Not that it couldn't be done, but it'd still be very difficult because of the precise alignments and astronomical layouts and everything else. It would take a high level of technology for us to do that today for what they did without any of that technology.
And that's the example I'm using for what's being built right now.
It doesn't know because anything you say that's being built right now is irrelevant because we have the fucking technology. Like, I don't understand. You can't talk about things that are being built today.
I wish I could see your face.
Yeah. One thing has nothing to do with the other. Yeah, I'm just biting my lip trying to understand. Like, the point is, could we build it's like
we could build the pyramid, rebuild the pyramids. Yes, we could.
Yes, we could. But there's never a person that said, you know how easy it would be to build a pyramid today? Oh, this would be so simple to do and have it mathematically the way that it works out and astronomically the way that it works out. Oh, it'd be no big deal. It's simple. No, everybody says it.
So wait. Difficult. So you're telling me mathematically? I see. You say mathematically how it is engineered block by block, right? So every block makes sense, so it can fit block by block, and the height and the width of it. You're
and saying the way that it aligned astronomically.
That
to the solstice and all the other things that they were able to line things up with, right?
And we just said we can't do that
moon,
now.
The longest day, the shortest day, everything that they did with all those different things that we're forced to use technology for today.
Of course, if we was to try to replicate it, like they did back then, I could understand how hard it would be. Of
but
course.
we could do it. I get that. But the point is, so how did they do it then?
They have different engineers for that for the time, the right engineers for the time. People.
And where did that information go?
It has evolved.
It's never evolved. We lost it.
No, we haven't. We just engineers out there.
Then why don't we know how it was built? Why don't we know how any of this was built?
We do know how it was built.
No, we don't. We speculate.
No, we're not speculating. We know how it was built.
We don't know how it was built. Nobody can guarantee how any of it was built.
We know
That's why it's called a wonder. It's the 7 wonders of the world.
The wonders always change. Oh my God, the wonders always change. Every generation, the 7 wonders of the world always change.
Oh, what's our 7 wonders now then?
I don't know what the 7 wonders, but they always change.
They always change.
They change. Look it up.
What is the 7 wonders of our world?
Huh?
What's the 7 wonders of our world?
I know the Niagara Falls is one.
That's a natural wonder, dummy.
Okay, so tell me the 7 wonders of the world. Tell me.
I don't know either. That's my point. Because we don't have wonders anymore.
All right, we do actually.
We don't have things on Earth that we marvel at and are like, oh my God, I can't believe that it was done, that we did this.
All right. I'm gonna put this up. 7th, right? I'm gonna look it up. 7th wonder
of the current world.
Of the world.
No, because they're gonna go back to the ancient ones, dummy.
God. Wait, let me put currently.
Okay, currently. The whole point is the reason they called them the 7 wonders of the world is because it was unfounded that these things were created and built. What do we?
Okay, look at the new 7 wonders of the world.
Okay,
here you go. All right, so I don't know why they're still showing well, they're showing that statue of Jesus over Brazil, right? They're showing that. They're still showing the Incas. They're showing the Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, the Rome Colosseum in Rome.
Oh, that's funny, man. All these ancient things that nobody can explain.
What do you mean? What are you saying? See, I don't. This is where how the
pyramids were built.
This is the difference between back then, I believe. Here's my theory of why people don't. It's not that they don't understand, because the intelligent people of this world, they understand it. It's people like us, we don't understand it. Why? Because we're so confused with all this shit all these gadgets. We're too busy trying to live with all this shit.
Back then.
Yeah, back then they didn't have any of that shit. So they actually used their mind they actually thought, right? Now, when was the last time you remember the phone number? That's the difference. So
but my point is
we do understand it.
Nobody knows how the pyramids were built. Nobody.
Bullshit. People do know how to build.
No, they have theories.
Physics know how the pyramids were built.
They have theories. Do you understand between theory and fact?
There is not a theory. You're trying to tell me that they don't know? I don't believe that shit. I don't believe.
Do you know what the difference is between a theory and a fact?
A theory is what is a hypothesis, right?
Yeah, it's a guess.
And then a fact is
proven.
A fact, a proof.
Yeah, it's proven.
Yes.
Nobody's proven how the pyramids were made. They all have a theory or a hypothesis on how it was done. My point is, you don't think you're telling me these people created this stuff, and like, why don't we have the records of it anymore? Like, why isn't there?
Because that shit deteriorates. It's paper. Back in the days, the paper back then, which whatever they used for paper to write on, that's why they wrote on stones. That's why there's hieroglyphics. That's why they wrote on stones, because it lasted. Because it lasted longer. They wrote on stones. But anything that was written on paper, as soon as paper was introduced, all that shit is gone, deteriorated. And here's a conspiracy for you: the Vatican in St. Peter's has a lot of shit, a lot of history in vaults that they don't want to share.
Oh, so kind of like the electricity thing.
Yeah.
So maybe the technology, maybe we know how it was.
I'm telling you. We have to know.
Let me finish. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is knowledge about how it was created, but they don't want to share it with the world because they don't want to allow the world to have those advancements.
Yeah. And what happens if we say that what happens to religion if we believe aliens exist?
Nothing.
If there's proof that aliens exist.
Nothing.
It proves religion wrong.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
How? Religion. The Vatican.
Okay, so who built? Okay,
Hold on.
The question that would first pop up is then who created the aliens? The same God that created us?
First of all, just so you know, the Pope has acknowledged that that there is the percentage that it's almost nearly impossible to believe we're the only life in the world, like in the galaxy.
Of course, he didn't have to say that shit. Any person that.
But that's what. But he's the head of the Catholic religion. What do you mean? You just said he's going to. If there's life somewhere else, that disproves religion. But the head of the Catholic Church, one of the biggest religions on earth, had admitted that yes, there has to be life out there.
Of course.
So then it won't disprove it. So your argument's completely wrong.
No. Okay. So let's say this. And I don't even want to get involved in religion. You know what? Let's skip the religion part because I don't want to get involved in that.
So let's go into this then, right?
Yeah.
So here's another question, right?
Yeah.
Why is it throughout history, the documents that we do have, right, and the things that we do have proof of from the papyrus is, by the way, Biden said that's papyrus, or the stones, right? Or the stone structures, the tablets, whatever else. Why is it throughout in the entire human history? There have been stories of visitors coming down.
Yeah.
Now, first of all,
and sightings.
Hold on. Let me. I'm not saying aliens. I'm not saying religion. I'm just saying there have been stories throughout humankind of visitors coming down to Earth. Whether you want to say it was God and religion, or you want to say it's aliens, I don't care. That's not the important part. Why is it that whoever these people were, whatever it was, why are we not worthy in today's age to be visited the way they were? Because here's the thing. If you look at any society on earth, okay, the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Incas, the Native Americans, you cannot find a civilization on earth, okay, 5,000 years ago who does not have a story about somebody coming down and visiting them. But yet, over the last 2,000 years, we have zero. Why is that?
That's a great question, right? So here's my thought process behind that. One, somebody's keeping it from us, right? The other one could be to ants. I like that, Biden.
Well, Chris, my point is, like, who says we haven't visited? My point is, there's no documentation or proof through a society like there was then. Like the entire society was those entire societies all agreed that there was visitors that came down and intermingled with them, religious or otherwise, and we do not have that for the last at least 1,000 years. Okay,
so let's look at it. Let's look at back then like we look at it now, right? They followed a leader. They followed a Caesar, right? A king, and they followed what he said, and the king will follow what the priest said, right? So, does this say that the whole civilization witnessed the being, or a few witnessed the being, and they preached it and prayed it to the people, right? And say, hey, we've seen it, we have been visited, this and that, and everybody else believed it, right? Because you hear those things, right? And those writings. Who's to say that they didn't make that shit up to just like religion to control?
I get what you're saying, but I guess it'd be a little harder to fake it then than it is now, right?
Why?
What I mean by that is this: you're talking about societies that have, let's say, a few thousand people, and they all live in a condensed area. Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, there's no electricity and stuff like that. And if you read back to, we're talking about they're talking about came down in the fire and skies and descended from the heavens, they say, and all this stuff. You don't think people would have saw that outside of one person?
Of course. If it was,
where did the one person
if it really happened, yes. If it really happened, yes.
But so why you don't? So you think every society? Hold on. You say if it really happened. So you think every society on Earth who had no connection with each other, that every society up until the last few thousand years have a story of some sort about being visited by something else, and you think every single society collective, even though they had no connection, somehow decided to make all this stuff up to have control over their own societies.
Possibly, that's one say. I'm saying that possibly.
So you're saying but how is it like? So human beings just all are natively evil, is what you're saying? Because you're saying because it'd be different if they all like if one society talked to another society and said, "Hey, bro, you're the ruler, right? Yeah. Well, what I did is this over in my society. I pretended like these guys came down and all this shit. You should go back and do that too." We're talking about things on opposite corners of the earth and no means to communicate. They're talking the same stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about this.
What's more plausible?
If we have anything that we know and we have learned through history that humans are evil.
That's fine. But what's more plausible? That every society, every society ever created who had zero connection with each other all had the same exact ideas, or they were actually visited.
Who's to say they didn't visit each other? They didn't communicate. They didn't communicate with each other.
How did they communicate?
Through writing. Exactly how you know about it. How did you know?
How did they get the writing to people?
Somebody happened to discover the writing and then shared it with their people. Look at this. This is so interesting.
We're talking about things that are happening simultaneously on opposite ends of the earth. Vast ocean. They don't have the means to travel 1,000 miles more or less across otions.
Okay, so you're saying, so these beings decided to come to both sides, both opposites of the earth at the same timeline. Not it doesn't have to be the same thing, the same day, same time. Okay, and they said, okay, we're just gonna appear to these two different civilizations, and they're gonna document it. I mean,
that's a lot more plausible than what you're saying. Because think about it, they have the means to travel.
I'm saying they can use it to control people, make a story up to control people.
I get it, but why would you're trying to say there's like a human consciousness that everybody decides to do this in every society ever created?
To control, yes. The masses, yes.
How that's to me, that's less plausible than saying, first of all, somebody has the technology. Let's say it is aliens, first of all. If they have the technology to come down to Earth, first of all, I think they have the ability to travel across the earth and be able to meet all the different civilizations. Number one, that's more plausible. Number two, if it is God and religion, then once again, it has the ability to travel across the earth. It's less plausible that individuals across the entire world, like we're talking about remote Native Americans too, like all these people all came up with the same idea.
Indigenous people, not Native Americans.
Indigenous people, all these indigenous people all across the earth at the time all decided to have the same idea. That's to me less plausible.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like your story. I like it because it challenges the mind, and it's actually it would be cool, right? To like, man, if that really happened.
That's another good question, though.
Right?
How did their languages? How were they able to speak to each other with their different languages, even if they did meet each other?
Because math is a universal language.
But we didn't. We're not talking about
math. I know shapes and all that. It's a universal language.
Shape isn't math, but that's okay.
Yeah, yes, it is geometry.
That's not. This numbers.
And geometry does shapes.
And they didn't have geometry then, so that's okay.
What? Okay, whatever.
But you're saying that they were able to communicate with each other over vast distances, different languages, some of them just being sounds, mind you, not even words.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So I love how you just pass it off. Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% plausible, predictable. Yes. People communicated with each other over vast distances, and they all came up with the same idea to be able to conquer their own people. Fuck out of here.
So here's my thing. That would be cool. I like where your head is at, right? Imagine like thinking like, yo, that would have been. They seen something and another being, another form of being. They see the potential, but like your question for the original question was, how come we haven't seen one now? Maybe we have, and it just again, it's being kept, right? Because if you believe if Roswell really happened, right? They kept an alien, right?
But why wouldn't they want to use that over the power to control us?
Because there already is other powers to control us.
Like,
it's like religion, like
but wouldn't
media,
wouldn't it be easier to control us for religion?
commercials.
But hold on, wouldn't it be easier for us to be controlled of religion if the people in power of the religion said that that there's still God came down, Jesus came, or angels came down? Like, wouldn't that be better for them to control the population and to make believers out of people if they continue to perpetuate the stories that were done in the past to control people?
Yeah. Hold up.
So why don't they?
I gotta sneeze. I think I gotta sneeze. Anyway, so but this religion is not the only. It's not the only form of controlling people.
So you're saying they just found better forms to control people?
Of course, you have.
But religion was the only way they controlled. But until 100 years ago, religion was the number one way to control the masses.
Yeah, of course.
So why is it 200 years ago they don't talk about being like all the things they talked about then?
Maybe they do it. We just haven't heard about it.
Then they're not controlling the masses.
But you're saying why?
In order to control the masses, you have to make it public.
But this again, and this is why I don't believe in conspiracy, because you would have to keep it from a lot of people.
Who are you going to keep it from? The point is to make it public. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. The societies made this public to their people. They carved it on their buildings, on their shrine. Like,
yeah, but how long? When was that discovered? How long was that discovered?
What?
From when it was written to when it was discovered, how long has it been? So those
are thousands of years.
Okay, so it took thousands of years for us to discover what they wrote, what that society went through, and what they witnessed. So what makes you think that it's not gonna take thousands of years for us for a being to deduce themselves, and then we're gonna write about it, and then thousands of years from now somebody's gonna read it?
Oh my God, you don't listen to what I'm saying. Every society until about 1,000 years ago, every society has a written story of these things happening.
Okay.
Just because we personally didn't see it, they still had it written for their time. We are living in a time where these things don't happen.
But who's to say? Okay, let's go to religion. Who's to say that Jesus wasn't the being that showed himself 2,000 years ago, over 2,000 years ago? And that's the Bible is the documentation. It's proof that a higher being exists.
So why has not a single angel or a single being? Why has no God or no nothing come to us in the last 2,000 years? But they were scattered through the first 5,000 all the time. Why have we not got a single one in 2,000 years?
I don't know. That's a great
Where's
question.
Documentation from people in power of the church or anything else? That
maybe when we go to the moon, he'll show up.
We gotta start wrapping up the show, but you don't follow you don't pick up what I'm putting down. I feel like
I do sometimes, but
sometimes I'm just saying it makes zero sense to me how we're scattered throughout history, but yet we don't have any of these experiences that they did.
But wait.
When I say us, I don't mean me or you.
But wait, what about those people that says they have sightings of aliens, and then all of a sudden they get labeled as crazy people? What if the sightings it really is happening, but they get labeled as crazy people from society?
I was waiting for you to finally come up with a good argument.
Yeah. So
what you're saying is because they found better ways of controlling the masses, they no longer they subvert those things that are still happening because people still say they see God and angels, and it's no longer accepted. And what you're saying is it's possible that the same type of people then it was just accepted as being truth, where today it's not.
Yeah.
So it still could be happening, but we don't want to accept it.
Exactly, and then we label them as a crazy person. What's a great? Oh man, it's a great show for you to watch since you watch all these shows. It's on Netflix, and it's a show about if it's like Jesus then. If the coming of Jesus was to happen now, right now,
the world's over then.
In today's society,
world's over.
No, but wait. There's an actual show about this. If the Jesus was to come now, how he would be treated Watch that. I'm gonna text you.
You think he'd be treated worse than he was then?
You gotta watch that. No, you gotta watch that.
I gotta watch it because he's treated pretty shitty then.
Yeah, but you gotta see how he's treated now. It's crazy.
I mean, he was treated really bad
in today's society.
I mean, he was murdered.
I know.
I mean, you can't get much worse than that.
I know. But you gotta watch it. I'm gonna send you what the show is, and then we can discuss it too. But that's interesting. So you bring that up. That's a very interesting, and you like watching shows.
All right.
So
you'll send me, find out what show it is, text it to me. I'll take a look at it. But let's go ahead and wrap it up.
All right. Any Fack Outta Here?
Other than no.
I have a Fack Outta Here.
All right. Hold on. Then. Fuck out of here.
Fuck Outta Here. Fuck Outta Here.
All right, go ahead.
All right. This is gonna be quick. And it's one of those things that it's just really, I get a kick out of it. But the Yankees didn't make it. Fuck out of here for all you New York.